This video focuses on inserting images into our HTML document in order to improve the overall visual appeal of our website. What I mean by that is the more visually appealing our website appears, the more likely users are to stay on our website, view the content, and feel like the content is worth their while. So we need to make sure that we use images to our advantage. Now, as you can see on Neumont's website, a lot of graphics are used and a lot of images. And these are all placed into the HTML document structure using HTML tags. So let's go over those tags right now. Inside of an HTML document, just like all of our other tags, we can use an image tag in order to place an image or insert an image into the visual hierarchy of our document structure. The way this is done is by deciding, number one, where you want those images to live in the visual hierarchy, and then inserting an image tag. Now, on our home page, if we look at the content, we've got getting started, we've got the technologies used, we've got this dummy data for our production deploys, and then production previews. The content in this web page, right now, based on the images that we have selected, it really doesn't fit. So I don't really have a good place I want to put images inside of the index.html. But our About Us page, its title is All About Us. So this sounds like a good place to put some images. Now what I've done is I went to the internet and I downloaded a few images of places that I have been in my life. And so I'm going to insert those here in the All About Us section. So why don't you pause the video, go download some images, maybe hobbies you have or things you like, and get 1 to 3 images so you can practice inserting images into your demo website if you're following along with me. So I've already downloaded those images. We can see them right here. So let's get them first. Let's get those images into our website structure. So when I'm building a website or a web application, inside of the root of my website, I like to have a folder called Assets. And inside of the Assets folder, I like to create an Images folder. I like to have a, oops, that's still inside the Images folder. I don't want it there. So let's get rid of that. Inside the Assets, I also, inside the Assets, like to have a Styles folder. And then inside the Assets folder, I also like to have a Scripts folder. And so, as you can probably tell, images is where I'm going to put all of my images and graphics and stuff like that. Scripts is where I'm going to put all of my JavaScript, and styles is where I'm going to put all of my cascading style sheets. But right now we're going to focus on images. So the images folder. Now we can verify that Visual Studio created all those folders for us by going to our website. If you've been following along, it's under Dev, and then probably right under Dev. I have it under Neumont because I'm doing this for these screencasts. And then I have my web dev portfolio. You'll see I've got an Assets folder, Images, Scripts, and Styles. So looks like we are good to go. So inside these images, I am going to take the 3 images that I downloaded that I want to add to my About Us page. Stick those inside of my Images folder. If you like, you can verify that those got copied and they are now in my Images folder. And now we're ready to insert them. So let's go to our About Us page. Let's create a new section. And inside this section, let's go ahead and add an H2 so that we've got a smaller header than the All About Us. And let's just call it Places I Have Been. And inside of this section, as we learned, sections provide a new area within the HTML structure that has related content, but content that is grouped together that is separate than other related content in the page. And to add an image, it's really simple. Just like all the other HTML tags that we have been dealing with, it is img, which stands for image. And all we need to do really is provide a source, which is the location of the file that we want loaded where this image tag is in the visual hierarchy when the browser renders it. So we're going to start at the root of the website using our /, and we put them in the assets. It's in the images folder. And then we are going to do Schwarzenberg Schloss first, since that's probably the first in the timeline. So image, we add a source attribute, and we can add a title attribute. And let's call this the Schloss in Schwarzenberg, Germany. And that is in the Erzgebirge. And then we can add an alt to it. Oops, it's fallen off my screen. Since I've got my text size up so big, what I'm going to do in order to make this more readable is I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, tab it in one, hit enter. Now, because, let's do this really quick. Because the source and the title and the alt attributes all sit within the opening and closing tag for the image or the image tag, they're all considered the same part of the same element. So even though there's a return within this tag, it's still read as a single line by the browser when it parses our web page. This makes it really useful when you are programming and you're building a tag and that tag is using a lot of attributes. Instead of making your tag go off the screen for, I don't know how many different columns you might end up with, you can actually just hit enter after each attribute and make your HTML more readable. So this is totally acceptable as you are programming. Now, the alt tag in HTML, or the alt attribute, is really just a description attribute that's applied to image tags. And it provides a text alternative for search engines. And so when, like, Google is searching your entire website to try to figure out what your content is and to figure out what searches can be applied against your website, the alt tag allows you to create or add more information that isn't necessarily what you want displayed on the image when someone looks at the image on your website. So let's look at this really quick. On my web page, now that it's loaded, you'll see places I have been and this massive image of the Schwarzenberg Schloss. We're going to want to make that a little bit smaller before we talk about the difference between title and alt. So let's go ahead and let's add a width to it. And we're going to do 150 pixels for the width and then 100 pixels for the height. Oh, that's a lot better right there. So that's the size we want. So let's talk about the difference between the alt and the title. So title, when I hover over the image in my browser, you can see this little pop-up that comes up that actually has the text from the title that I put in there. So I say, the Schloss in Schwarzenberg, Germany. But for my alt tag, for my search engines, I might want to format this text a little bit different. So I might say, let's do Schwarzenberg, Germany, and then I may want to say the actual name of the Schloss. So Schloss, I can't remember the name of the Schloss, but let's say it's Schloss Schwarz. All right. And so for a search engine, someone might actually search for Schwarzenberg, Germany, or they might search for Schloss Schwarz, or they might search for Schwarzenberg, Germany, or Germany Schwarzenberg, or any other. So this allows you just to add alternative text that might get searched when a user is searching for something related to this image, but it's not necessarily something that you want in the title that displays on your website. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, grab a tutor, grab your instructor, and they can walk you through it in a little bit more detail. All right, so we've got our page, we've got our image inserted into the page, we've got a title that shows up if somebody hovers over it, and I've got 2 more images. So let's just go ahead and let's add those images really quick. So we'll do image, we'll do a source, we're going to do our assets, images, and then next one in line would be Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm going to add a title to it. We're going to say Kuala Lumpur, oops, Jumpur. We want Lumpur. Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm not typing very well today. Malaysia. All right. And we're going to want to add our width and height so that one doesn't blow up the screen as well. So width 150. And let's do the height as 100. So we should, yep, there's Kuala Lumpur. It looks like it's scaled pretty good. And then we'll do the same thing for London. Oops. So we'll do our image, we'll do our source, assets, images, London. We're going to do our title. And let's do the Tower Bridge. It is London, England. And then we're going to do our width again, 150. Do our height again, 100. Close that tag. And after it reloads, we've got all 3 images. So that right there is how you add images to the structural hierarchy of your HTML page. And once we get to CSS, you'll be able to see how to really style those images up as well as the rest of the page. So we'll call that good for images.